Hello,
Hello,
everyone. Thank you for joining tonight, Hanging with Hero. I'm Aaron Leventhal.
and I'm Jennifer McGuire, and I am on allergy medicine because I thought it was allergies, but I think it's a cold, so I took something a bit stronger. So you'll have to forgive me. I may just be here smiling the whole time, but that's okay. Aaron can handle it.
I'll do my best. It's hard to walk in your shoes, Jennifer.
Oh,
Um, I'm just honored that all of you have
yes,
joined us. This is our sixth episode, this is our fifth with a guest.
yep,
You are welcome to go back and see those past ones. They're well worth it. We've had just wonderful time talking with Tim Holtz, Gina Kay, Christina Warner, and Kathy Z. We talked with Greg from Concord and Ninth and Kelly Marie from Lawn Fawn last week. All of them are
yep.
great episodes. If you're interested in the history of the industry, if you're interested in talking with or about personalities and kind of where this whole industry has come from, you've come to the right place. Now, if you're
Yep.
new, the whole purpose of this is we started kind of celebrations of 50 years of Hero Arts. Believe it or not, Hero Arts. My mother founded the company 50 years ago, roughly in May or June. We don't remember exactly, as she doesn't remember the exact month. And so we wanted to do something to really honor Hero Arts, really honor in so many ways this wonderful industry that has grown up along the way. So if you're new, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you've watched some of these in the past, we really appreciate you joining us again. Jennifer, I
Yes,
thought that I would take us just a quick summary of kind of the history to bring us up to today before we ask
yep,
our guest to join
for
us.
sure. Yes,
Great. And by the way, we have giveaways at the end. So we love to see
yes.
comments, and that's the way you can participate. Share your ideas, share your questions. We'll do our best to read them and answer in live in the flow of the discussion, but also you qualify for potentially winning one of the giveaways. So thank you all for joining and thank you for commenting. All right. So, again, for those of you who are new, Hero Art started in 1974, so 50 years ago. And in the early years, we had little booklets. I think Mike is going to share a photo right now. We had catalogs, award winning catalogs in so many cases. This is four of the early ones. Notice that one in the upper left is like a mailer that you just kind of handwrite somebody's address and you send it off to them. And that is
That's
a little
amazing.
rendering of my mom sitting on a woodblock stamp with I don't know why there was a horse theme with a rodeo theme. She definitely doesn't ride horses as far as I remember, but that's her. 1976 is that first one, and then 1980 is the one in the upper right, and then the one with like the magic mouse hat. That's 1982, and then you see 1985. So this is the way that it was back then, and it was all red rubber stamps back in the day. I've got a press room picture, which is next, that kind of shows you kind of the old world technology. These presses are from the 1940s,
That's
and
amazing.
that's where red rubber was pressed out. It's a both a heat and pressure. So those big mouths, they actually close and put 2,000 pounds of pressure, about the weight of a car, at about 350 pounds, and that's how you press red rubber, 100% all natural grown rubber. And these were not the early presses. The first press was actually in our bathroom, in our one bedroom apartment, because it was the only room that had the power load required to run a press. And so that's really the early days, right? That's how we kind of started back in the day. We started with red rubber, and that was about it. Wood block stamps and cling. You had a bunch of um, ink pads that initially only 5 colors, and that eventually exploded into multiple colors and multiple products. But again, through the 80s, pretty much just woodblock stamps. 90s came along, and you started getting the inkling of scrapbooking, which was
Yeah.
exciting, which really excelled into the 2000s, which is when Hero Arts had to address the fact that maybe scrapbookers weren't that excited with red rubber stamps in our stamping industry the way they were with their scrapbooking materials. So I called Jennifer out of
Yep.
nowhere, and
You did.
yeah,
We didn't know each other.
we didn't. And
Nope.
so a lifetime friendship from that point forward started, and
Amen.
Jennifer really helped not just Hero Arts understand how to sell to scrapbookers as well as stampers, but also I think change the industry because you started making cards where scrapbooking was a lot more about photos being the
Yep.
centerpiece. Card
Yeah.
making was about messages being the centerpiece of a smaller canvas. Those there that is also the decade, the 2000s, the aughts, when clear came in,
Yep.
and you started seeing dyes. Again, not that clear and dyes weren't there many decades earlier, but they weren't really in our decorative stamp industry or our scrapbooking industry.
Yep.
So Jennifer and I both looked at the clear. I think when we first looked at them in 2006, and both of us said, "Nah, that's
I said, no
nobody's going to
way.
want those."
No way. Let this be known, it was the only time in my life that I was very wrong.
Yes, right. And but to our credit, we changed gears about a year
Yeah.
later and
Yeah.
decided, you know what? Okay, maybe people will like these clear stamps,
Yep.
and so off and running.
Yep.
And I think you saw a merger in the 2010s of scrapbooking and stamping and card making. Paper crafting, the term was really born. I don't think people really use the term paper crafting until you kind of have this merger of scrapbooking and card making. And the 2010s, actually before that, saw my wife and I, Laura Ackerman, who runs the company with me, and she's really design director. You saw the rise of the internet. You saw
Yep.
the kind of the scaling back of what independent stores were. Most people knew what independent stores were and bought all the craft supplies there. In 2000, we had 6,000 independent stores who bought Hero Arts rubber
Yeah.
stamps. You had archivers, you had all this stuff, but you didn't really have the internet yet, right?
Right.
And so the 2010s saw, the wonderful advent of Simon Says Stamps, scrapbook.com, and the growth of
Yep.
places like, stores could start having websites, and Amazon became a competitor. And sadly, a lot of the stores kind of started to recede.
Yeah.
And so I think that is kind of an interesting time. Then 2020 came, and everything was show based. So we used to go to shows. Jennifer and I would, uh,
A lot.
yeah, we'd go to trade shows that were just for retailers, like that were
Yep.
so big that you just saw retailers. They weren't end user shows like a lot of the events that you see today. Of course, they had those. Those were a wonderful part of the industry, dating many years back to seek the so many of those scrapbook events were wonderful, but there was also these retailers shows that starting with 2020 and COVID really started to recede and becoming a difficult part of what
Yep.
COVID brought, which is, we couldn't go all see each other. In
Yep.
fact, in the episode with Tim, I think Jennifer and Tim talked about dueling, right? Dueling TVs, where you guys were each doing
Yeah.
different demos
Yeah.
and
Yep.
opposite each other. So they were big events,
Yep.
celebrations, and that kind of changed again. And a lot of companies like Hero Arts, and my wife really spearheaded this for our company, went to these subscription programs and box programs in order to make up for the fact that there wasn't as many stores. And really, we wanted to build that community. That's the other thing. With 6,000 stores in 2000, man, you could make it really exciting at a store with an event. You could have 200, 300 people come to some store
Yep.
events. But as stores started fading, it became more and more difficult to get inspired to build that community. And the internet rose as a wonderful way to do it different. I'm not going to say it's better because I think going to stores was a wonderful
Oh
avenue
yeah.
as well. But
Yes.
Gina Kay, right? She became a rock star on YouTube in the 2000s,
Amazing.
and Yes, and she was one of the real personalities. Jennifer, of course, really rose, and I think that community, that inspiration, is what we now see today in our industry.
Yep.
So there we go. I brought us all the way back up to the present.
That's now.
Now, yeah, I want to do that because our guest tonight is somebody who is new to the industry, and
Fresh blood. Fresh blood. I
we
love
are
it.
really excited. Yeah, we were really
Yes.
excited to talk and ask him what he thinks about the
Yes.
industry because we don't necessarily have perspective being here for 50 years with my wife and I owning the company for 25, and Jennifer and I being friends for about 20. We don't necessarily have the
Hmm.
perspective that Fresh
No.
Blood does, like our guest. And so I'm very excited and honored to invite Ralph Tyndall, a full-time content creator, to join us today and give us his insights and views. Thank you, Ralph, for joining us.
Well, of course. Howdy. How's it going? Also, I
We're
feel like with
glad
that tee up, I feel like the pressure's on now.
we're glad to have you here. We love a new, young, energetic friend, and we're glad for everything you're bringing to this industry. So thank you for taking the time to be here with us.
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, thank you for having me. I was just chatting with Aaron and Jennifer before the show. I was like, I feel a little big for my britches here because all the guests they've had on so far have been, these kind of titans of industry, if you will. And I'm the new kid on the block. But I'm just honored that y'all wanted to have me. So happy to be here.
Well, what I love about you, we talk a lot about how people get to be a firm foundation in this industry by kind of
Mhm.
making their own way, and you've made your own way. So it doesn't matter that you're new. You have a lot that you bring to the table. You have a lot of energy and excitement, and we're thankful for that. So we're glad you're here.
Oh, well, thank you. It's very kind.
Yes, and I think everybody's got a place in this industry, and I
Yep.
think that's a beautiful thing. Tim said that on the first episode that we had a guest. He said,
Yep.
I don't necessarily like everybody's style, but man, I love seeing people doing themselves. You do you, right?
Yep.
And I
Yeah.
think that's what's wonderful is that you really have a vision, you have a perspective, and yeah, let's talk about it. I'd love to hear. And if you don't mind sharing to start for all the people here, thank you everybody
Yes.
for joining. It's wonderful to
Yes.
see all the comments. I see everybody saying hello to Ralph and that you're a great artist and appreciating your being here, Ralph. So, give us start at the beginning. How did you get involved in stamping, card making, paper crafting, but maybe even before? Kind of what's your background that led you to where you are?
Yes.
Yeah. Loaded question. Um, I guess I'll
That's what we do
start.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I started with stamping. It was totally random, first of all. Growing up, though, sorry, I'm trying to figure out where I want to start. Growing up, I feel like I was very a creative kid. I was really into photography. In high school, I had like a small photography business, and I did yearbook and played several instruments. So I feel like I always had a little bit of a creative bone in my body. Was never into crafting. Never really, that wasn't my thing. But definitely an eye for aesthetics, I guess, if you will. Um, and then, anyway, went to college, joined corporate America. When crafting came in, I was working as a product manager for a tech company, which is basically a fancy way of saying I helped build software. Basically, worked with engineers and designers to build software products, which was really interesting. The thing that I loved about it was building and creating. There was a lot of creativity in that, but obviously a kind of a different creativity. But after a few years of working in tech and a couple organizational changes that weren't super fun, I got to a place where I was just kind of burnt out with my day job, and COVID had just happened. We're just coming out of COVID, so I was spending all day working from home in front of a computer. And then I would move from my computer to the living room and watch Netflix. So I was just kind of in front of a screen all day. And I think that like passion in me to do something creative that I had as a kid just kind of felt very small and quiet. And yeah, it was just kind of non-existent. Until I was on Instagram one day, and a friend of mine that I went to college with was actually using a heat embossing gun.
Oh,
To
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was the gateway. He They were using a heat embossing gun to stamp the back of their envelopes. And
Hmm.
immediately, I think it was gold too. It was gold and sparkly and shiny. I was like, that looks cool.
That'll
Um,
do it.
and I know, I know. If nothing else will, bring out the embossing gun. But anyway, so my partner Adam was like, I made a comment to him about it, and then a few days later, he actually surprised me. He gifted me a heat embossing gun,
Wow.
and some wood block stamps, and it was Father's Day, which I'm not a father, um, but we do have a dog, so he called it a
Yes, that
Father's
counts.
Day
That
present.
counts.
Yeah, yeah. And so that was my Father's Day present, was an embossing gun and a few woodblock stamps. Um, and so that's kind of what started it off. And I played with like the embossing gun and powder and stamps a little bit. But really even then I didn't know about the broader world of card making. I just knew about, embossing. And then I played with that for a couple days, put it down, and didn't really think much about it again. And then about a month or two later, I don't even know how I stumbled upon it. But I stumbled upon card making on YouTube, and fell down a rabbit hole of watching a lot of Kathy Zilski videos. um, and that was kind of what did it. I was like, okay, there's something more I can do with this embossing gun. I can make like full on cards. Um, and so it's kind of just a slippery slope from there. I think I went to Joann's and Michael's and bought a bunch of stuff. And then as I learned more about the industry, started shopping at Simon Says Stamp and scrapbook.com and getting, all of the stuff. And from there, I had only been making cards for like maybe a week, and just decided to film myself making one and threw it up on TikTok, not really thinking anyone would see it. Um, and then they did.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, yeah. There was no intention like, oh, I'm gonna like become a card content creator. I just kind of like threw it up there because I
Yeah.
was spending a lot of time on TikTok, and yeah, from there it just kind of snowballed. I don't know how much further you want me to go, Aaron, but that was the start.
Well, I'd love to hear how that happened because I think you're the only one who's in kind of in this industry who started this way. So I'd love to hear you started putting content on TikTok and what happened then.
Yeah, good question. The very first video I did, I believe it was a Halloween card, and I had filmed it, and then um, I can't even remember. I think I did a voiceover of it and kind of talked through the process. And that one got a little bit of traction. The TikTok algorithm is interesting because it'll just grab things and push it. Um, but then the second video I did was another Halloween card, but that time I didn't do any talking. I just kind of like let the process speak for itself. And then that one just like skyrocketed. And I was like, okay, I guess people are like finding the noises entertaining and
Yeah.
relaxing. And so I just kept doing it. The funny thing is, like I said, I'd only been making cards for like a week, so I was brand new. Um, and it was really interesting because I suddenly had all these people watching, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, I'm making these videos, and y'all are watching them, but then at night, I'm like watching Kathy Zilski teach me
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's like I'm learning in real time, so that was kind of interesting. Um, but yeah, it just kind of snowballed. I mean, I was spending all my time after work just making cards, and then on the weekends, filming videos. And then about, oh, I don't know, 6 or 8 months, it got to the point where my social media had taken off enough that I decided to quit my job that I wasn't enjoying. Um,
Nice.
yeah, and now it's been like, I think it was almost, I can't remember the exact date, but it was last June that I quit. So it's been like exactly a year. and I'm still afloat, so that's good.
Yay!
Okay,
So
so
how
this,
long
yeah,
ago
go
did
on.
you start making cards? So how long has that been?
That I so it was fall of 2022.
Hmm.
I got the
Amazing.
embossing gun for Father's Day, and then, like I said, I kind of set it aside for a
Yeah.
couple months, and then I brought it
Yeah.
back out and was like, okay, I'm gonna try this. And so that was like August or September, I think.
We
So
call
do
heat
you think
embossing the
you're,
starter drug. It's
yeah,
what gets you.
Yeah,
It's that slippery
for
slope from
sure.
there. Yeah, because it's that
Yeah,
wow factor.
yeah. It's the
so
gateway
I,
drug.
yeah, and I think so many people in the comments are saying, yeah, embossing is the way they started too. Kathy Zilski is laughing that
Yeah.
she's in the comments, finding it very funny that you're using her inspiration, which is great. And people are saying that they'd love you to do a video showing off how you do your ASMR. So, what's your process? But two questions that are now strings through these various hanging with hero from other people. You mentioned music, and that you obviously do ASMR, so that was important.
Yep.
There's a lot of uh, kind of musicians in our industry, which I didn't even know. Of course, Gina Kay was in a rock band. She could have very
Yeah.
well been touring instead of card making, if that would have gone well. Kelly Marie at Lawn Fawn, she is an impressive array of different instruments she plays, including percussion. Greg from
Yeah.
Conquering the Night said he plays piano and sings. So I think, yeah, I definitely think a band, a stamping band is. But so
Oh my
you
gosh.
use music on in the TikTok videos. Then I think that's a very important part for those who don't look at TikTok. And this is a second string. I remember in the first episode, I asked Jennifer and Tim, and they're like, "Oh no, we don't. I don't have even a
I'm not
TikTok
on
account."
TikTok. I'm too old.
So
I
this
only
is a
know
new
Ralph
direction.
because I found him on Instagram. So
Mutual.
that's it. I'm too old for TikTok.
So Ralph, educate us. These us older people on why
Yes.
ASMR is popular. Why do
Yeah.
people? Why are they attracted to ASMR? I mean, I've listened to it because it does. It really feels like it reduces stress and anxiety, and if you kind of can scroll and hear various things, it can be very relaxing. But what attracted you to that format?
And Ralph, if you could start by, some people don't know what ASMR is. So if you could tell them,
Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah,
I don't
I,
know
I
what it
say oh
is.
gosh because I don't even know what it stands for. I am not like an ASMR expert, I will admit.
That's okay. That's
It's
okay.
it stands for, according to Google, Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. But basically, and this is not a great explanation, but it's some people have this like uh pleasurable response to sound where it's like relaxing. And so
Calming.
you can find AS calming. That's a good word. Um, and I think crafting is just so ripe for that because we have so many like fun little sounds, like the tape runner. Every time I use a tape runner, I just love the
Yeah.
sound it makes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't explain it. It's just people find it relaxing. Some people find it really jarring and hate it, which is also fine. Um, but yeah, I never was like an ASMR person, really. Like I said, I just
Yeah.
happened to make a video and it took off, and um, I enjoy it. But yeah, I don't know. People just find it relaxing.
So if
I
you don't
I have
know
to be honest.
what Ralph's videos do, or what they're like, I, they've gone viral. I mean, millions of people have seen them. But I put in, if you're watching on my channel, I put in the description below a link to his Instagram, his website, his YouTube, his TikTok channel. But basically, he makes cards and just records the sound of him making it. So you hear the die cut machine go, you hear the tape runner, and it's not somebody talking incessantly like I do during mine. So it's this kind of calming approach, and I feel like by hearing it you experience it a bit more just watching it, and I think that's part of why Ralph went viral. Plus he makes some really fun cards. So if you're new to him, if you're one of those people who's new to him, it's in my description below, so you can check it out there. But just to give you an idea of what his reels are like. But now he has a YouTube channel where he's doing more traditional videos, kind of, sort of.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the goal. And thanks, Jennifer. Yeah, you explained that way better than I did. I
No,
am
it's
like the
okay.
world's worst at talking about myself.
Well,
So this is a
you
fun
kind of,
exercise for me.
here's the thing. You came into this without, I've always said the people in this industry who really kind of have the longevity and the the joy and success just fall into it naturally, and you fell into it naturally. So I remember when I started doing this, and still I've been doing this for 20 some years, I still can't really describe what I do. When somebody's on an airplane next to me and says, what do you do for a living? I'm like, well, I glue stuff
Yeah,
together and people watch. That's
yeah,
so I get it. I get it. I'd love
yeah.
to tell you that it'd get easier to explain, but it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, I feel like the younger generations, if you say like, "Oh, I'm a content creator," they get that. But then when I say, "Oh, I'm a content creator and I make cards," they're like, "You do
Yeah.
what?"
Yeah.
So there's like, it's almost like the content creation piece makes sense, but then it's like, "What do you mean you make cards?" It's like, well, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say that I thought that you explained very well in a recent
Yeah.
YouTube video that you did, where you talked about how you're going to go back to the channel. Maybe you started doing some YouTube and you felt that your short form TikTok, which is ASMR, which has the sounds, no, not your voice, but it's the sounds of tape, it's
Mhm.
the sounds of the die cutting machine, it's the
Yeah.
sound of. I actually really love the sound of you pulling the clear from the substrate. Just even
Yeah.
that,
Yeah,
just to,
yeah.
that to me
Yeah.
is very satisfying. So all of that in that short format TikTok you explained on a recent YouTube video, and I thought you'd characterized yourself beautifully. You said you're a paper crafter. You do paper crafting with my hands online. And I think that
Yeah.
kind of captures the whole thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's different
Yeah.
channels. It's Instagram, and you don't have to just find Ralph on TikTok. I see some people say they don't have TikTok accounts. Uh,
Hmm.
Ralph's Instagram channel is rich with content with that
Yeah.
same short form format, and they're short, they're digestible, they have great sounds. Sometimes, some different techniques, and so just what we're talking about is Ralph. You did one with us. I see Libby Hickson's in the comments, and
Yes.
she
Hi,
actually,
Libby.
yeah, I remember came to a marketing meeting and said, I was watching this guy, Ralph Tyndall, on TikTok, and he used some of our stamps. And it got 15 million views,
Yeah.
right? I mean, so that is
It's
just like
crazy.
numbers that don't make any sense
No.
in the context of a lot of Instagram accounts,
Yep.
a lot of
Hmm.
YouTube channels in our industry. Because I think that people are very, how can I put it? In a good way, I mean this word in a good way, slow to really kind of digest what they're seeing, watching Jennifer, kind of stamping
Hmm.
themselves, really kind of the longer format videos, talking through the techniques. It's a very different style than your very short form,
Hmm.
with all of the sounds that go into it. So I
Hmm.
think it's a wonderful evolution of community, of learning, of techniques in our industry, and it's one of the main reasons why we wanted to have your fresh perspective on this, Ralph.
Yeah.
Because tell me more about why you were attracted to short form. I mean, I know you do YouTube as well, but
Hmm.
why even just the short form? Even putting aside ASMR, which is a great part of it, why was the form fun for you?
I think that's just, I don't know, during that time when I got started, that's what I was consuming the most of. I was a consumer. I fell down the TikTok rabbit hole hard during COVID. I spent so much time scrolling TikTok that it became just a huge source of entertainment for me. Um, and I think that's just kind of, I don't know, at least for my generation, I feel like that's where we're at. I don't know. We're on YouTube too, but like TikTok and Reels have just become such a big part of social media that I don't know. I don't really have an elegant answer for you. It's just kind of where where I went.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's a little more approachable. I mean, to sit down and film a whole YouTube video, Um,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a different experience. You know, you don't have to use an external camera, but typically you have a camera and lighting, and then you got to get on your laptop and edit it. But short form, you can just do all from your device.
Yeah.
So it's a little more accessible.
Yeah.
So what about the live format versus
Hmm.
videos? Because I do notice on your videos, and this is very common in TikTok too, for people who do follow their TikTok and doom scroll like I do. It's often like choppy, right? Like it's you put together a bunch of scenes and you edit together. And so even if you're
Hmm.
talking, it might then cut, to a to a scene that is maybe an hour later, maybe a moment later, but nonetheless it's edited in that manner. And I noticed that you edit your YouTube videos that way.
Hmm.
So that is a style in TikTok too that I think is very different than anybody else I see in
Yeah.
our industry.
Yeah. Yeah. You're talking about like my YouTube videos are kind of choppy too.
Yeah, I mean choppy in
Yeah.
only the best way. I mean you kind of
Yeah.
edit
Right.
it
Right.
together and you put different, and it's you talking, but
Yeah.
it's
I love
it's
that.
over
I
2
love it.
hours. Yeah,
That's
Oh, thank
hard to
you.
do. That's hard to
It
do in a
is.
YouTube video. And I love
Yeah.
that you kind of put it together like that, because that none of us do that, because that's too hard to do. So that's a gift.
Well, well, thank you, first of all. But part of the reason I do that is because a lot of times, first of all, I say a lot, which I'm trying not to do. And so a lot of times and I also, when I go to film a YouTube video, a lot of times I don't really like script or outline what I'm going to say. I just kind of sit down in front of the computer and
Same. Yeah.
word vomit.
Yep.
And so a lot of those jumps are me like taking out stuff that is either not relevant or maybe I stumbled over my words. But it is also intentional because you do want to, edit for what's the word I'm looking for? Retention. Like you don't want people to get bored and click away.
Yeah.
And so I try to make sure that, the most relevant or most engaging content is what makes it in the edit.
yeah. Although I will say that I think that is, and I hate to say this because I'm generalizing. I think generalizing generally is a formula for disaster. But I think that my experience with my kids who are in their 20s and a lot of TikTok is that people have very short attention spans,
Yeah.
and I think that the long format videos are just we grew up with those, and so it's not
Hmm.
uncommon to have 20, 30, 40. These have run an hour, an hour plus, and people watch them. And speaking about rehearsing, Jennifer and I do like hours ahead of these, rehearsing every moment. Nothing. We don't.
Oh,
We
that's
just
funny.
jump on. Hello, everybody.
Yep.
We're live. So it. I think that these are just different styles, and I think that it
Hmm.
is just like Tim said. You do you. I mean, I think it's
Yes.
awesome that
Yeah.
you bring these different styles to the industry, and these different ways. One more
Yep.
string though, technology. So in addition to music, we could start mini rock bands, I think, or different
Yeah.
types of music with all the musicians. Also technology. I find that interesting. Like you started your intro by saying the algorithms of TikTok are kind of odd. So I know, and you were in the tech industry before you came here. I was
Hmm.
surprised to hear that both Kathy Z and Christina um,
Yeah.
call themselves techies,
Yeah.
Hmm.
and we've got many people from different backgrounds. I mean, Jennifer was an engineer and could very well be making a better Kleenex or a better tampon right now
Do
than
we really need that though?
then stamping with us. And I think the world would be a worse place for it,
Yep.
for sure. Even my mother back in the day, she was a photographer, and she did all of her own developing in the darkroom. And back then, that was considered a techie, right? She was a chemist, and
Hmm.
she was a technical operator of a camera. And so I do find that stamping, in some ways, and tell me if you agree, Ralph. Maybe in some ways it's a counterpoint to technology because you can color outside the lines. You can be a little messy. It doesn't have to be perfect,
Hmm.
right? Where technology maybe has answers like formulas or code has
Hmm.
to be right, right? Algorithms have certain patterns. And it feels like card
Hmm.
making maybe is less constricted in some
Hmm.
ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think for me, and kind of going back to Tim's thing, you do you. But the way I approach card making, I feel like is still pretty um, analytical. Like I'm pretty like precise and technical. Um, so I feel like maybe that's what I enjoy about it is you really, because you're doing it with your hands, you really can't be so specific about where you place this stamp or this die or I've really gotten into making interactive cards recently, which I find to be kind of like mathematical in itself.
Yeah.
Um, and so I don't know. I think that that does come into play. It's like I'm flexing that creative piece of my brain, but I also get to solve a problem at the same time, um, which is fun. Yeah. Also, I do want to go back just briefly. I even though I make short form content, I love long form content. I feel like I grew up on YouTube. Like I'm very much a child of the internet. We used to watch 40-minute videos all the time. Um, and so for me, there's definitely room for both. I don't know why I felt the need to clarify that, but
No,
No,
it's
I did.
good. Yeah,
yeah.
no, it's good. I get that.
And yeah, I mean, I think different content also for different purposes. Like if you're going
Hmm.
to
Yes.
kind of, and for those who don't know, Mike, I think I have some images.
Mike.
Ralph and Hero Arts collaborated on a release in our 2024 spring catalog. We are very honored that we got to work with Ralph. So it was tons of fun to work with you, Ralph. In fact, my wife Laura led the efforts from our side with Ron and Robin, who are designers, and Manami and Yesenia, basically trying to take Ralph's vision and turn them into stamps and dies and cling and stencils. I'm forgetting even, but we have some photos to
Mike,
just show anybody who
can you
didn't
show the
see
pictures of
the
Ralph's products?
yeah
Do
the
you have those?
2024 spring catalog that we did. And so, how taking things from TikTok, taking things from card making, you probably got tons of samples from different industries. How did it feel to kind of try to imagine yourself for your own line? Um, stamp designs and cling from kind of all
Hmm.
the things that you had played with.
Yeah, good question. So I think there's a couple of things to hit on here. Um, when it came to creating a line, I kind of knew pretty early on, as I started to realize I wanted to be more serious in this industry. I kind of realized I think that I would like to gravitate towards having a product line. Part of that is because I was a product manager in my former life, so I
Okay.
like to create and build things.
Mm.
Um, and also, is sometimes I do struggle. There's so many different styles and brands specialize in different design types. But sometimes I would struggle to find what I wanted to use. And so I thought it would just be fun to be able to make things that I would like to use. Um, but when I thought about all of this, I knew that I actually did spend a little bit of time reaching out to manufacturers and suppliers. And I quickly realized I don't want to manage all of that myself. um,
No way.
and so the wheels started turning about like, okay, well, maybe someone would want to collab with me on doing this. And I actually did speak to a couple of companies who were interested. But from the get go, I've always been a big Hero Arts fan of
Mm.
your products. Like I said, I went to Joanne and Michaels and what is Joanne carry Hero Arts, and so like, I was using Hero Arts from day one. Um, and then we mentioned Libby earlier, but Libby,
Yeah.
who was running marketing at Hero Arts, we connected pretty early on in my card making journey and just kind of became friends. And we bonded over Broadway. We were DMing back and forth about Broadway shows and just built a connection from there. And so I already knew that I liked the people at Hero Arts and I knew that I loved the products at Hero Arts. And so I was just kind of like, well, maybe Hero Arts would want to do something together. Um, and luckily, Aaron, you said yes. um, and that's how that came to be. But as far as like the creative piece, I don't know. Like I said, I just kind of wanted to. I didn't really know. I don't know if it's bad to say, but I didn't have like a really clear idea of what I wanted it to look like. I just knew that I wanted to make stuff that I would like to use and that I thought other people might like to use as well. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's a great answer, but
I, no, I think it's a great answer. And I have to say, one of the key things I think in our industry um, that we look for all the time is that new perspective idea. And I just felt like
Energy,
you had a
yeah.
great new perspective.
Yep.
And um, from that point of view, finding new customers, finding young customers is kind of on all of our shoulders, not just as companies. This transcends companies and products. To make this industry strong and healthy, you have to have innovation. You have to have new customers. You have to have new excitement. And I think that when I was watching your TikTok and when Libby said, "Hey, I reached out to uh, this
Yeah.
guy Ralph, and he pinged me back, and I think you should really look at him." It just made a lot of sense because you had a certain aesthetic to your videos. You had a certain
Mhm.
approach to it. I'm a little OCD myself, and so for some reason your videos really appealed to me because they were very
Mhm.
polished,
Yes.
and so that just might be my issue. But
Yeah.
I really
No, we're
loved
no, we're
the
we're the same that way.
yeah. And so for that reason, it just made a lot of sense. And the collaborative process, I wish I had Laura here. Maybe another episode of Hanging with Her, we'll have Laura here to talk about the
Yes.
creative process.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that would be cool.
uh, yeah, it was wonderful because I think that you had a lot of ideas, but didn't really know where you wanted to go. And I think that was the funnest way to approach it. Like, great, well, we can do anything.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
have so many
I
ideas. Let's just narrow it down. And that was the process. Was really okay. Let's narrow it down. That's great, but let's make that maybe next time.
yeah,
And
I literally showed up for the folks watching at home. I showed up to our first design meeting with like a deck of like 20 different ideas with like sample images
Yeah.
and inspiration, and it's like I don't know which of these we're gonna do, but these are my ideas.
yeah,
That's great.
and it's funny. I reached out to Kelly Perky. Kelly Perky
Yeah.
is one of our earlier
Yeah.
uh, collaborations. She was in scrapbooking, and everybody's different. And so I remember coming to the first design meeting with her when we were doing with her, and she was like, "I don't have any ideas. What about you guys?" Right? I mean, and so for you, it was like
Yeah.
the opposite
Everybody's
spectrum.
different.
All right, here's all my ideas. Okay, wait, I'm only halfway through. We haven't even, you know, which I thought was great. So we had so much to choose from, and it was a
That's
lot of
the
fun.
that's the product manager in me.
Yeah.
I love, I love I love to make a deck.
Yeah,
That's good. That's a good thing.
yeah. So people are asking a couple of questions. Ralph,
Yeah.
are you willing to tell us your age? A lot of people
Yes,
have asked
that,
that question.
Ralph, everybody
Oh,
wants to know how old you are.
oh,
Thankfully, they're not
really?
asking how old we are.
I was gonna say I'll share if y'all share. No,
I'll share. I'm
I'm
49. I think I'm 49. There you go.
I'm
I'm
29.
56.
Nice. Well,
Yeah,
there you go, y'all. Now you know.
yeah.
Wait, did you say?
Oh, sorry, I'm 29. Sorry, maybe
Okay.
I
Oh,
didn't catch.
gosh.
29.
You're the
Yeah.
same age as my
30s.
oldest.
Oh, well, fun.
That's
30's
bad.
right around the corner.
29 is a great age, Ralph, for sure.
Yeah, I heard
Okay, so
someone.
29. So we people said they guessed 27. Other people said they guessed 35. So I think that's right in there.
There you
Um,
go.
I when I first saw, I assumed you were definitely in your
Be
20s.
careful.
I think, yeah, definitely in your 20s because it just seems like a lot of people on TikTok who are doing the kind of polished content. If you look at TikTok, there is a lot of great content. I'm not going to say
Yeah,
anything negative,
for
but some
sure.
of it's less polished, and you could tell that Ralph's
Yeah,
had kind of a quality to it that was
for sure.
I don't know reflect your kind of your background in tech. So other questions people are asking. Yes, Ralph did do a collection of products in our spring 2024 catalog, which you can find on our website. We've got a special announcement that we'll make about a special flash sale that might include some of Ralph's products.
If you're
Uh,
watching on my channel, I put a link to Ralph's products in the description below and all of his social media and such, so you can find more of him.
right. And I will reveal now,
Oh,
we are working on another release that's due
oh
out. I can't
yes,
guarantee, but sometime in probably October.
good.
That will include some maybe holiday, maybe gift, but the next collection of Ralph Tyndall plus Hero Arts. So I think
Yay.
that's an exciting thing, and we're working on it now. And Ralph has no ideas. No, we have way too many. We got to narrow it down again.
We know that's not
All the
true.
other ones look terrible.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Ralph, so you started more on TikTok and Instagram,
Mhm.
and you've started a YouTube channel not very long ago, right? Not like how long ago?
Not long. I don't know. June of last year, so about a year. But I've been
About a
very
year.
in, yeah. But I've been very inactive. I
That's
took kind of
okay.
a break for like the past 6 months, but I am coming back.
I get that. I get
Aaron
that.
kind of, yeah, Aaron kind of hinted at it earlier, or maybe it was you, Jennifer. I can't remember which of you were talking about it, but I posted a YouTube video um, earlier this week, I think on Sunday, kind of talking about that, which is kind of in tandem with what we've been talking about, like the focus on short form content, um, which I've really enjoyed doing kind of the ASMR short form reels and TikToks. Um, and have found, it's let me, quit my job and do this full time, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But I've found over time that my actual favorite part of what I do is I do lives on TikTok typically twice, sometimes once, but I try to do twice a week. And I
Nice.
love that time because I get to, connect
Good.
with everyone who's watching me in real time and build community and get to know what people are, doing at home. It's just a fun time to connect. And I think I just want to I want to focus more on building that community aspect of what I do. And I find that YouTube is probably the most beneficial vessel for that. Um,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
so I want to start doing, and I'm committing to doing more long form videos over here on YouTube for at least the next few months. Hopefully, it'll go longer than that, but I'm giving myself like 3 to 6 months to
Yeah.
kind of just dive back into YouTube and have fun. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your video that I watched, what earlier this week maybe, yeah, it felt very authentic. It felt very real. It felt like
Thank
you
you.
were sharing. You're very approachable, and I think that's kind of the magic that you bring to your YouTube channel, is that you're someone that you kind of wear your feelings on your on your sleeve, and you share them. And
Yeah.
I think that authenticity really shines through. So each one of your channels does offer something very different. For those of you who don't follow Ralph, if you don't have TikTok, I mean, follow him there. If you don't have TikTok, you can follow him on Instagram. Um, I am pretty shocked to see how many followers you have. You have like over
Yeah.
800,000 followers on Instagram.
Amazing.
And you started like 8 months ago. Um,
That's crazy.
Well, that's not
Crazy.
true. I've been on Instagram for a little over a year.
yeah. Um, okay, a
Compared to
little over
our
a year.
25, well, my 25, his 50, it's just, and I think it's fantastic because this is the kind of thing we need. We need
Mhm,
the more we have, the stronger we are, and that we're
mhm.
glad that this is the path that brought you to this industry. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. And yeah, I agree. I feel like I don't know. I feel like my mission, if you will, is like just to bring new people into card making because I feel like I kind of discovered card
Mhm.
making obviously through YouTube, and it was in a world that I had no idea even existed. Um, And I think kind of the stars just aligned in a way that I started sharing it on TikTok, and I feel like it's so interesting. I get so many stories from people who are either discovering card making for the first time and they're going out and they want to figure out, oh, what should I buy? How do I get into this? Or the really interesting thing, I hear from a lot of people who are getting reconnected with card making because maybe they have a grandmother or something that used to make cards. And then they stumble across one of my videos on TikTok and it like unlocks that memory for them. They're like, oh yeah, that exists. My grandmother used to do that. And it kind of like reignites, those thought patterns and hopefully passions. And so it's really just fun to kind of bring that to a new, younger audience on TikTok and new in general, but on TikTok it tends to skew younger.
It's true.
Well, a lot of people agree. Lisa said, yes, please bring young people in. JB said, glad you're feeding the fire, which I agree. And Bonnie said, new life for our industry. So we're all thankful that, for bringing more in because, we want this industry to keep going. We want these videos and sharing and, inspiration to keep going. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. Thank y'all for
and
welcoming.
and I think it appeals to all ages. And I think that's the wonderful thing is there are uniting things like embossing,
Mhm.
right? That really can start people of any age getting excited. We've seen Jennifer's daughter do crafting at a very young age.
Yeah, she's right
And
here
so I
doing
don't,
it.
yeah, so I think that crafting is not something that's restricted or required to be kind of experienced or skilled. I saw people saying that they've been stamping since 1979. I mean, that's wonderful. That's back at the dawn of hero arts. And Personal Stamp Exchange was one of our competitors that went out of business in the early 90s, or All Night Media, Rubber Stampede. These companies aren't there anymore, but new generations have picked them up every decade. And I think that's such a wonderful thing of this industry is that it builds community. And ultimately, in the end, young or
Mhm.
old, male or female, any of those, whatever you want to do, whoever you are, just be you and do you. And I think that's the beautiful part of this
Yeah.
industry is we accept it. And not to go take this too much further, but like we make joy, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
what this industry is. You come here to
Mhm.
kind of find not only companionship, but also kind of, sharing kindness and happiness. And I think that is such a wonderful element and such a fresh element of the
Mhm.
world that we find ourselves in, and certainly compared to, say, corporate America or the tech industry. Not that those don't have wonderful aspects too, but I don't think there's many industries that have kind of the joy and the friendship that we have in this industry, and I think it's really something special.
Yeah. I mean, we're all making cards. It's like, how much drama can there be?
So, Ralph, I'm curious. What is your favorite thing about making cards, or this industry, or this whole new arena that you're in? What's your favorite thing about it?
Oh, that I don't have to be on Zoom calls all day? No. I, yeah, I think I just enjoy getting to be creative
Yeah.
all the time. And there's definitely times where it's hard, like you can't be creative 24/7. And I think
Yeah.
that's something that I'm learning to have to figure out and balance because it is difficult when your job is to be creative. It becomes hard to be creative. But, you know, 9 times out of 10, it's wonderful. Um, and one of the things that I don't know, I think I view card making a little bit differently than the average card maker. Maybe not, I don't know. But yes, obviously we're making cards to give to people, but I kind of just look at making cards as like a creative, I don't know, thing to do. Like I'll make cards that I would probably never give to anyone. Like I made I like to do cards that are based on pop culture. Like I'll do like
Yeah.
trending memes or like some of my favorite singers I've turned into cards. And I don't know. I think there's just a lot of fun ways that you can. yeah, make a card for somebody, but you can also just make a card because it's something that you
Yeah.
thought of and thought was fun. And so I don't know. I think overall I just like being able to do that every day.
It's a good thing
That's
to
great.
do.
Yeah.
I do. I do also think, in some ways, back at the start of scrapbooking in the '90s, one of the key things that people did with scrapbooks, and it was a different format, of course, but was use photos and document graduations, and it really was something that you did for your family, almost like a family album, but with more
Hmm.
creativity than just photos. And then card making, of
Yeah.
course, was something that was really something to give because you did mail things. I mean, so to quote
Hmm.
Jennifer, you share handmade kindness, and that kind of is kind of a theme and a mantra for a lot of people in this industry. But I do think that, like you say, Ralph, now people have taken paper crafting into different angles. People do it for therapy. People do it
Hmm.
for community. People do it like you're doing, kind of, pop culture to remember the days, almost like a throwback to a scrapbook page, right? In some ways, and I think that that is a wonderful evolution. Just like we used to all go to classes in stores to learn things. Tim tells the story that he did not want to go to that stamping store. Tim
Yeah.
Holtz, he did not want to go to that stamping class, and he went to it, and that teacher changed his life, and he went into stamping, right?
Hmm.
And so that's the way that was the really the only way that you could find things. And then, of course, the advent of YouTube and the internet and fewer stores. There are still beautiful stores. Go visit them out there that you can find this community for sure. But there are a lot fewer of
Yeah.
them. And so the advent and the rise of YouTube and then Instagram played a big role. Obviously, Facebook. There were others. Flickr. There were many different formats that you could do it, and I think TikTok is just an evolution of that as well. And just like card making has changed, card making is therapy. I totally agree, and I think now you can find all the different angles and avenues to see it. And Ralph, uh, I'm so glad that you found it because otherwise you could be toiling
Yeah.
away at your tech job right now, being very unhappy, and we would all be worse for it because we wouldn't get to hear you talking about your passion and the way that you approach all of this, which I think is beautiful.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm happy I found my way here too.
Yes.
So,
Um,
Ralph, can you tell us more about some of the fun opportunities you've had since you've been crafting? You've done some really cool things.
yeah.
Sure. What have I done?
Do you want us to show the slides that you had? The
Yeah,
images?
let's do that. I can kind
Let's
of
start with
walk
the first
through.
one because
Okay.
these are
Can
interesting.
I? Oh, you have it. Oh, okay, cool. So you're sharing it. Yeah, so I kind of made a little bit of a slideshow of photos. This is the card that my partner Adam gave me for Father's Day, which kind of is what started everything. And I do that's a photo of me and our dog Hudson. I do have a photo of
Oh,
Adam
what a
further
cute.
down. But that's our dog. And you can kind of see there the rainbow and the paw prints. That was me testing out embossing for the first time. I tried it out on
Nice.
that card. So I guess you could say that was kind of the first card I made. Um, and then, okay, let's go ahead and go to the next one.
You want to go to the next one, Mike? He's
Okay,
working on it.
so oh, I think it changed. I think we're good.
There we go. You're good.
Um, these are some of the first cards I made. You can see they're very simple. Um, and I also, that top one in the middle, those little Halloween cards, that green and orange one on the end, that was the second card that I filmed in the first video on TikTok that really like popped off and got like 2 million something views. But I more so show that because as I was making cards, I didn't have anyone to give them to. So I was just setting them up on our mantle. So you would walk into our house and there was just lines of cards that I had made because I didn't know what else to do with
That's
them.
fun. Yeah,
Those are excellent
um,
first cards. Excellent first cards.
definitely.
Thank you. Thank you. And then over there on the left, that is our dining room table. So that was kind of my workstation for a long time.
Yeah.
before I kind of took over. I turned my office into a craft room. And you can see
Mm.
over there on the right a bunch of woodblock stamps. Those were the
Yeah.
woodblock stamps that I was gifted for Father's Day. There's a couple of Hero Arts ones in there, and some paper source ones.
Nice.
Actually, we make the paper source one, so those are ours too.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I didn't want to say that too confidently. um, and then this is just kind of showing more of my affinity for hero arts. I think the one on the left is the first card that I made with like fully hero arts products that I'd picked up from Joanne. That one in the middle was a vintage, which I'll say in quotes, cling stamp that I found from a thrift store here in Austin. I was really excited when I found that cling
Nice.
stamp for $3.
Nice.
Yeah.
Um, and the one on the right is a funny story. So that is a card that I made for Hero Arts' spring catalog. I was asked to, or maybe not catalog, but for the release. It was the first time I was asked to be a guest designer. And I thought that when I sent that in, Libby was going to have a fit. um, because it's not at all, I think, what the stamp was intended to be used for. And I also, one thing about me, I mix and match different mediums and techniques. So like
Good.
that
Good,
UFO, for
good.
example, I made on my Cricut, and so I was like, I don't know if they're gonna like this. I'd say UFO, and I used a Cricut, but it was authentically me, so I sent it in, and that card also got like 20 something or 19, I think, million views on TikTok. So two of my very most viewed videos are Hero Arts HeroScape cards, or no,
Yeah.
one HeroScape and one like layered stencil thing. So Hero Arts is
You know,
very
Ralph,
popular.
Ralph, I think that missing you card is the one that I think that was the first one I saw from you, and I was like, oh, I love it. Doing your own spin on it. It's fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, I was like, they're either gonna love this or hate it, but I had fun.
No, it's great.
Although I will say, every single comment on that video, I got like flooded with comments that said it should have said "missing you" EWE,
Oh, good
which,
point.
but
That's
that's okay.
awesome.
Next time.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is me getting serious. I'm moving
Oh
into
yeah.
my what was my office for my day job. Kind of ran to IKEA, bought a bunch of furniture, and established a craft room. It has never been that empty or clean since.
Yeah, that
Um,
happens.
and I'm also outgrowing it. I desperately need more space, but it is what it is.
I get it.
But that was a very exciting day. And then this is just random. That on the right is just a pile. This was my first Christmas, I think, card making. So I
Oh
ran out and
yeah.
bought a bunch of like Christmassy stuff. You can see on top there's a glare on it, but it's a Hero Arts Infinity die set.
Tags,
Big
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
fan. Yeah, big fan of Heroes Infinity dies for anyone that needs nesting shapes. Check those out. And on the left is funny. So this is me making a card during an all hands at work. You can see the top right hand corner. That is a Zoom meeting that I'm on, but I'm making a card. Not to worry. I was a listener. I didn't have to be an active participant in that one. But
Well done. No, we're impressed.
Yes.
yeah, you can see how my worlds were starting to blend together. And you can also
Yep.
see I was working on top of a piece of notebook paper because I didn't have a proper craft mat.
Yeah.
So that was funny. Okay,
All
what
right.
do we have next? Oh, this is when things started to really pick up. So doing what I being on social media, I've gotten a lot of really cool opportunities to work with brands on promotional content. So my very first brand deal I did outside of the card making space was with Virgin Voyages, which is a cruise line owned by Virgin. Big fan. If you're ever looking to go on a cruise, Virgin cruises are great. Shameless plug. But you can see on the left there, I made a mermaid themed card because their mascot is a redheaded mermaid. And then I also on the right there you can see like a little champagne problems. next to a glass of champagne. And so card making took me to the sea. So that was really cool.
That is cool.
Um, and then let's go ahead and go to the next one. Oh, yeah. So while I was at sea, actually on the Virgin Cruise, I got an email from Good Morning America um, asking me to be featured on their website. I didn't get to go on the morning show, but I filmed an interview with them, kind of talking about my experience and journey in card making. And that's the hero. That card I'm holding there on the Good Morning America website is a Hero Arts
Yeah.
stencil and die.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
That's
that was really
amazing.
cool. I freaked out when I got that email.
It's a little
um,
over a year ago. Amazing.
yeah. And then these are some of the fun brands I've gotten to work with since then. And I highlight this simply because I don't know, it's just like, I think it's such a cool opportunity that so many people are interested enough in card making that, I don't know, card making is getting a larger platform. So these are some videos I've done for brands Lenovo, Starbucks, Lexus. I don't have screenshots, but I've also worked with Microsoft, HSN, Cricut, Michaels, a few others. Um, but just really cool that, people are out there not knowing what card making is, and now they do.
That's amazing.
Um, Thank you. Yeah, and you can see that Starbucks one. I actually made a craft out of their Starbucks bag. That was a fun one.
That is fun.
Oh, and then
And the
that's a Hero
Lexus,
Arts Heroescape, by the way.
yeah, the
Or
Lexus
not
with
Yeah.
the,
Heroescape, but
yeah, yeah, that's
yeah.
the Heroescape, I think. Yeah.
This one's kind of random, but it was a fun one for me. So this was kind of a full circle moment. I am a big fan of Candace Nelson, who, if you don't know her, she is the founder of Sprinkles. And she's done a million other things now. She's on Shark Tank. But when I first quit my job, I picked up this book called Sweet Success that she wrote, which you can read the byline there as a simple recipe to turn your passion into profit. Um, and just really enjoyed her story. And then about a year later, Sprinkles sent me cupcakes. And so I
Nice.
thought that that was just a fun little full circle moment.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah, and they were very tasty. Okay, and now to some fun stuff. So these are a couple of, so we talked a little bit about the design meetings we had whenever thinking about the line with myself and Hero Arts. Um, Sorry, am I talking? No, I'm good.
You're good.
And so these are a couple of the drafts that I kind of drafted up whenever I was presenting. I want to do a composition book and I want to do a stage. Um, and you can see there's been some changes. So, for instance, on that background stamp there, I don't know if you can see that red dotted line, but originally I was thinking about making that like a tearaway stamp. So that you can see how things kind of evolutionize. I did have all the sentiments fleshed out. Um, but that's kind of the one of what became that line. Let's go to the next one. Can't even remember what all I put in here. Oh, this is the last one.
Yay.
Uh, this is just a highlight. You can't do it alone. Um, that's my partner there on the left with Hudson. He's been a huge
Aw.
support system throughout all of it. You can see there, those things I'm holding are actually Copic markers that he gifted me for my birthday, all wrapped individually.
Yeah.
And then he gifted me a cake when I hit 1 million on Insta or on TikTok. So just been a great support system for me. And then, of course, the community at large. I could not put everyone on here. I just grabbed a few out of my DMs, but we have Jennifer and
Oh,
Kathy
cute.
and Libby and Alexis and Alberto. And then Tim has been a huge, just kind of supporter friend of mine from the beginning too. Whenever I first started taking card making more seriously, I reached out to him to see if he would like just chat, and he was happy to. And we jumped on a Zoom call scheduled for like 30 minutes. We talked for hours. Um, and so that's just a testament to the community at large. I mean, we really have some amazing people in this community. So didn't want to not shout all those folks out.
That's
That's
awesome.
great.
Fantastic.
Well, certainly congratulations, Ralph. I think that is a wonderful journey, and who knew that Starbucks and Lexus would be
Yeah.
inspired by paper crafting and would see that as an extension of their brand. And just like you say, I think it does bring it to the masses. I mean, that's why Hero Arts is always committed to selling to Michaels and Joanne and Hobby Lobby, even though in some ways it's a little bit of a conflict with our independence, especially early on. But it was always an opportunity to reach new people. And I just,
New.
yeah, and if,
Mhm.
new stampers who would never find us otherwise. And so I'm heartened to hear that you found
Mhm.
something at Joanne stores, wherever you find anything, wherever
Mhm.
you see stamps, wherever you see paper crafting, that's a wonderful thing. But yeah, what a wonderful journey, and thank you for sharing that with us. When you first showed interest in wanting to design a line, I was really excited because I think that it does go to that idea that any background, any style, any approach has a place here. And I
Mhm.
think all of those influencers, all the people who really supported you, I think that's a credit to everyone in the comments, everyone in this industry. Thank you for being so welcoming, because I think if we were not that way as an industry, and I think everyone every day that we are, I think you kind of can press people out. You can shun people. You can have people not being interested, and that's just the opposite
Mhm.
of, I think, who you are, Ralph. And I think, like, as you found, just the opposite of what this industry is about, which
Mhm.
is inclusion. So
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
absolutely. And truly, there is room for everyone. And I feel like there's something special about everyone. For instance, I don't know, and of course you're your biggest critic, but I always feel like I view myself as kind of like the top of the funnel, if you will. Like, yeah, I get a lot of reach and bring card making to new people, but I'm not like the best teacher. I don't ever claim to be an amazing teacher. I always tell people if you come on my channel and learn something, great. But we're just here to have fun and share passion. But someone like Jennifer is an amazing teacher, and if you want to learn how to do things and do things well, like go watch Jennifer. And everyone kind of has their
Yeah.
specialty, and there's room for everyone.
Amen. Amen. I totally agree. We need all of
Yes,
us. It would be really
we
boring
do.
if we didn't have us all.
So speaking about teaching, Ralph, have you done live events, like in-person events, as well as
No,
no? Okay.
no, I'm itching to. I've never, yeah, that's the weird thing. Throughout this whole journey, it's just been me in my craft room by myself. I've never done any like
We're
in-person
we're
events.
gonna have to get you to meet up with all of us sometime.
Yeah.
I know. It has to happen one of these days.
One of these
Yes.
days.
Um, yeah. And Ralph and I have talked about Ralph coming to Hero Arts. That'll be fun for
Mhm.
Yeah.
kind of will if Ralph does that, then because you're in Texas, right? We're in California.
Yep, yep.
We'll
I'm in
we'll shoot
Austin.
video.
For what it's worth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll do
Ah.
video of us here, and and we'll share that with everybody on YouTube, if we make
Yeah.
that happen. If I can just take a moment, I just want to again thank everybody for joining us. What a wonderful series to have so much support from all of you, talking about the industry, not just talking about how to craft. I think it really informs our craft to talk history and remember where we came from in order to see where we're going. And I think that's kind of the theme of what these Hanging with Heroes are. And so for that reason, I want to be sure to share uh, with all of you. We have some giveaways. We have sponsorships from scrapbook.com and Ranger Inc. We've been supported by Concord and Ninth and Lawn Fawn, and I won't list all of them here, but it's been a wonderful outpouring of support from the industry. And I think Mike has a graphic to show the people who are the winners tonight. So
Oh, look at
congratulations,
that.
everyone.
How'd you get that?
We have, as you
Nice.
know, two from Hero Arts, those gift cards of 50, plus you can then gift $25 to a friend.
Look at
Um,
that.
so congratulations. And then we've got a scrapbook.com gift card and a Ranger Inc. gift card. So congratulations to the winners. email info@heroarts.com for more information. So if you're a winner, you see your name there, congratulations. In my opinion, all of you are winners. Thank you for joining all of us, and keep coming and watch past episodes. We're not done just yet, so don't think I'm wrapping it up, but I just wanted to be sure to announce that. I also want to announce, while we're doing announcements, that we have starting now, a 24-hour flash sale that includes Heroscapes, 6x8 stamp sets. Notice that one in the very front of the graphic is Ralph's. So 6x8 clear stamps on our site are available for 24 hours at 50% off to celebrate our 50-year anniversary. And that also includes the bundles. So the 6x8s that have dies with them, like Ralph's, you can also get those at 50% off for 24 hours only.
Nice.
So,
Wow.
yes.
Ralph uses the Heroscapes once in a while. I've seen those in reels, and those are included on the sale. So that's a good thing.
I love the Heroscapes. That was the first thing I told. I think it was Robin who designed those, right?
Yeah.
Aaron?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm obsessed with the Heroscapes. Because I'm not.
And I think,
sorry.
I was just going to say, I think that Ron started it and designed one, and then Robin designed the next few, and then Manami did one, and it was great. It was a great collaboration. And I remember when you came in, you're like, I love those Heroscapes. Let's start with that. Yeah. Let's do something in this field, because I think that it gives you a lot of canvas. It's 6x8. It's basically a double clear set.
And if you're not a skilled colorer, or you don't like to color, Heroscapes are your best friend. Pro tip, because you don't have to color. You can create an entire beautiful scene. You don't have to color anything.
So Heroscapes, if you're new to Heroscapes, they are, I think they're always 6x8 stamp sets, aren't they? With different images that you layer together to create, it looks like a scene, a scape. So it's called Heroscape. So there's like a sunflower scape, there's a lake, there's all different options, and it allows you to create something that looks very realistic, and it could either be the focal point or the background. So I agree with Ralph. They're great, great for those of us who struggle with coloring.
Yes. So Ralph, in this journey of yours, when you started, do you remember, like, was there a color medium that you were really attracted to first? Like, you mentioned embossing, right? And obviously embossing powder I consider a medium. But what colors? How did you really get into doing coloring? Like you said, some people don't like coloring. Maybe, are you one of them? Or like, how did you approach coloring? And, there's liquid watercolors, there's sprays, there's pads. Like, how did you start that journey of really kind of exploring papercraft colors?
Coloring and I have a complicated relationship.
Same.
I'm embracing coloring. Primarily, though, my medium of choice, if I am coloring, is alcohol markers. But even, I don't know, I'll give myself a pat on the back. I think I'm improving. But I've always kind of struggled with that. So it's been one of those kind of things that, like when you're in any hobby, I feel like you have some things where, like, some components that were like, I'm really good at this. I know how to do this. Coloring is not that for me. It's always kind of this area of opportunity that I can continue to grow and nurture over time. And then I would love to get into watercoloring. I think I'm a little type A for watercoloring because there's not enough control. So that's kind of like a one day, maybe I'll get there when I can learn to let go a little bit.
Yeah. I've been saying that for 20 years.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll never get there.
No. I think there are people out there who make it approachable, and you can learn from. It's got to take, it takes a little bit of practice. It actually takes practice to let go for people like us. So there are a lot of resources out there for that.
Yeah. Yes. There's therapy. No. I mean, there's ways to learn.
That too. Check.
Yes. And then what about tools? Like you've mentioned, Cricut. Obviously, you do die cutting. That's part of your line. Mike, if you can show those three images I have that show Ralph's products that we have in the spring catalog. So this is one of them. That's 6x8 right there, which is the one on the left, which is a collection of the stage, center stage that Ralph showed, and there are dies with it. On the next one, so this is that large die with a color layering stencil set, and then notice I love the top die. If you see that, that's like the fans in the audience there. Like those are all the hands going woo,
That's
partying in the
awesome.
front row, celebrating the ballet or whatever you might use. And then the final collection from the spring 2024 catalog is then there's the cling, and there's more of kind of Ralph's style. This being the center stage approach, which was one collection, and the next one was more like the kind of high school style on the next image, Mike. Yeah, there we go. Those are
Oh yeah,
rub-ons,
that
like
was fun.
go on your journal. And look at that cling. I think that cling is my favorite. Well, I
So
don't know,
good.
over 50 years,
So good.
because you can create your own journal, right? Your own notebook from high school. Everybody's had those, right? They had a certain smell to them, even. Like when I see that, I can smell my notebook. And then the different labels there that show how you can create that, and then the rub-on images, of course. That I was less of an illustrator, so I couldn't really draw those cool images. And if you're like me, then you have the rub-ons that Ralph, the transfers
Yes.
that you can use for that. Um, so I guess you got into die cutting pretty quick, right? Because that was one of the things very quickly that you started using, that I noticed in your videos with your card making. So
Mhm.
die cutting seemed to be something that you did enjoy.
Yep, yep, for sure. Yeah, it was the. I remember going to Michael's and buying my first die cutting machine, and it was a very big day because I was like, because when you're starting out, you learn pretty quickly. Crafting is a pretty expensive hobby, but that first like big purchase is your die cutting machine. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm committing. But I actually remember driving up to Michael's and picking it up. I had ordered online, and I got it, and the box was all beat up and crushed, and I was like, oh gosh, what am I getting myself into? Um, but it was great. Yeah, it was love at first crank. So
Hey, it's true. It happens to all
Yeah,
of us.
yeah, and people are suggesting that my shirt looks like that
Yes,
composition book, and I
oh
I
yeah,
do
it
have
kind
to
of does.
it does.
yeah, I do have to say that I always wear shirts that I think would make great cling stamps, and so in fact that is consistent with your cling stamp. I
It
didn't even think of
is.
that.
For
Although
sure.
this is our sixth episode, and I'm starting to run out of shirts, so I'm gonna have to either go buy some more, or they're gonna be repeated. But yes, I think that this is a composition book shirt. I've never thought about that. But your die cutting, I think, is wonderful. You also had a partnership, I think, with Glowforge, right? That's a
Hmm.
different technology entirely.
Yep.
Um, say a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I do have a Glowforge. I worked with them a bit. It is a laser cutter. Some of you may be familiar with that. It is essentially what it sounds like. It's a high-powered laser that you can use to cut through different materials, primarily things like plywood or leather, um, things of that nature. The Glowforge I have is called the Aura, which is kind of their base entry-level model. You can get more powerful lasers that'll cut through metal and engrave metal and do all kinds of crazy things. But yeah, that's pretty fun. Let me pull it out here. I use my Glowforge to, sorry,
Hey, we can
to
relate.
store all of my mini ink cubes.
Nice. Look at
Oh,
that.
so you made that with the Glowforge,
Yeah,
the
I
the,
made this
the
with my
Nice.
storage material.
Glowforge.
Yeah.
And so I can just
Nice.
slide my, granted, I must admit I don't use my minis as much as I should, but they're right there for easy access.
Nice.
That's great. So this is something. Speaking of going back, because we should probably start wrapping this up. I bet you Jennifer's probably you're hanging in there beautifully, Jennifer. But
That
I
Benadryl
don't.
is kicking in.
Yeah, I don't want to go all night. But going back to that new customer. So we talk about new customers, how important it is in this industry, and how you have. You were a new customer, what did you say, fall 2022,
Hmm.
roughly,
Yep.
when you started this odyssey in this industry. So what do you say to new customers in terms of, because I know you have a list. I've seen it on some of yours. Where do you start? Like, where do you recommend? Because now we've talked about, getting your first die cutting machine, or coloring, or the cubes, or
Hmm.
the paper choices. Like, how do you kind of advise new stampers to really get going and start in this industry?
Yeah, it's a loaded question because it can, things add up. And I think
Yeah.
that that is one of the, like when I look at one of the hurdles for this industry, especially for folks in my generation, um, a lot of our budgets are not as large. Um, and so it can be a little overwhelming when you like look at the array of products, offered to you. So my biggest advice is honestly always to go slow because you can amass a bunch of stuff and you may find out you don't like using,
Yeah.
you may not like watercolor. I have a bunch of watercolor pencils, which I love and I hope to use one day, but I don't watercolor, so they just kind of sit there. um,
Yeah.
so my biggest advice, which isn't super tactical, but it's just to go slow. If I were to like give more practical advice, um, I I fell in love with stamping first and embossing. Um, and if you're serious about it, I think you need a stamp platform. It'll make your life a million times easier, but you don't have
Hmm.
to start with a stamping platform. If you just want to make a card bare bones, I think the most you need is an acrylic block, which, if you don't know what an acrylic block is, it is like a clear little block that you can put those sticky things, they're called stamps, on the block and stamp with. You can get those for a couple bucks. Hero Arts sells them. And then just a few ink pads, the mini cubes. And my videos a lot, you see me use the larger ink pads, but you can buy little ink pads that are this size and they're
Yep.
much cheaper. Um,
Right.
so just get the bare necessities and start slow, watch a lot of videos,
Yep.
and you'll kind of figure out what you gravitate towards.
Yep.
Yeah. And a lot of content's
Very good
free.
advice.
I mean, I think that's what we try to tell new
Mhm.
consumers too. Just like what you did, Ralph. You started watching, Kathy Z, um, and we don't tell people they have to go to our YouTube channel. We tell them to go to Jennifer's or Christina Warner's or
Yeah, there's a
Kathy's
lot.
or yeah.
Mhm.
So many people have wonderful,
Hmm.
glorious content on how to's, basic level, all the way up to kind of really committed hour-long challenges every day for a week or a month or
Yep.
uh, you know Tim Holtz does his I mean he does something different every year, but he's done for a long time. He's done bookmarks for holidays.
Yep.
He's done tags for holidays, things like that. You can obviously take classes when you get a little bit more interesting. Actually, Ralph has done Stamp Along with us
Yeah.
before. So the Hero Arts programs, we have one that we do for every season, and so everyone has these different things, and you don't have to spend a lot of money. And I think that is kind of one of the secrets in this industry is there's so much great fresh content that you can get for free.
Mhm.
How do you manage all the comments? Like if you're getting 15 million views on one of your TikToks, I mean, do you get a 10,000 comments? I mean, what the heck? How do you respond to everybody?
You can't.
Hmm.
um, so I like to, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I try to engage and comment as much back as I can. I mean, if somebody's taking time to leave me a comment, I think, I try to do as much as I can, but you can't get to all of them. So I think you just need to, show your appreciation for your audience and the
Yeah.
content you do give them. Um, and then everything else is extra.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, wonderful. I really appreciate you spending the time, Ralph, and
Yeah.
sharing your story.
Yeah,
I think it's,
absolutely.
yeah, I think you're a wonderful addition. I think, again, the whole theme for tonight is just, you do you. All of you out
Yep.
there, thank you for coming and watching us, being a wonderful part of the community. And I think that again, and I'm repeating myself, but one of the beautiful traits of this industry is being welcoming and encouraging
Yep.
of all of the different styles, all the different techniques. I mean, you mentioned in your YouTube video that you might even try different techniques, and who knows, it might even take you away from paper crafting, and that's beautiful. I think all the different crafting coming together in just a wonderful community that is supportive and really do offer that. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for reminding
Yes.
us
Thank you.
how important it is to share and be authentic and being welcoming.
Yes.
And I think sharing handmade kindness, Jennifer, you started this trend
Yes.
many years ago, and I think that it is such a beautiful anthem for our industry.
And
Absolutely.
if you don't follow Ralph on all the things, I do have it linked below, so you can find him and follow him. It's inspiring and refreshing, and I think something that any card maker would love to watch. So be sure to check that out.
Right.
Yeah.
Ralph, one last question to close this out. Is there anything that you're really excited to try that you haven't tried yet? Like anything that you want to get to? You mentioned, those pencils, so maybe that's next. But is there anything that you've been
Yeah.
meaning to try that you're really looking forward to that's coming next that we can expect maybe on a video or a reel or YouTube sometime soon?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I am really intrigued with watercoloring. It intimidates me. But what I really want to do is, first of all, you did say I might leave paper crafting. That's not going to happen. But I do want to like explore, and I think it'd be fun to, and I kind of have some of this is in progress. But I want to bring on. I have friends who are in the social media world that specialize in other crafts and other
Yeah.
art mediums, and I think it'd be really fun to bring them onto my YouTube and kind of share their art with my
Nice.
community and vice versa. Cross pollinate, get some newbies over here into the paper crafting world who are already creative and doing something with their hands already. So,
Right.
yeah,
I
kind of
like it.
blending those creative worlds.
Right. Indoctrinate them to stamping. I like that. That's
Yeah.
a good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bring them to the
exactly.
dark side. Bring them to the dark side.
Exactly.
We're happy to have them.
Yeah.
So
Well,
stay tuned.
yeah,
Good.
that's beautiful. All right. Well, wonderful. Thank you for having you, Ralph. Always great to talk with you, Jennifer. Thank you
Yeah.
all for joining us. Another joyous episode of Hanging with Hero. We were off next week to celebrate 4th of July, and we will
Yeah.
be on the following week with an exciting guest or two. I won't announce it yet, but we are really appreciative that everyone supports this,
Yes.
and there's so much fun to do. And Ralph, it was great talking with you tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank y'all so much for having me.
Thank you
And
All
so
thank
right.
all of you
much.
for tuning in.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. All right. Good night, everybody.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Take care.